Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into some fascinating source material that completely flips the script on how we handle life's absolute hardest moments. We're looking at a text from Dwell City Church that takes the well-known historical and biblical figure of Jesus and, instead of focusing on his usual titles, looks at him through this incredibly intimate lens as the ultimate friend right in the middle of a storm. Now, I want you to picture this for a second. You're out on the water, it's pitch black, the wind is absolutely howling, and massive waves are crashing over the sides of your boat. You are totally exhausted, and safety is literally miles away. So what happens then? The text uses this intense, vivid imagery of navigating a literal storm to talk about our chaotic personal struggles. It challenges us directly, asking us to reflect on our own hardships. When our life starts spinning out of control, where exactly do we look for an anchor? Let's jump right into Act 1, the meaning of friendship. Now, this is super interesting because, honestly, a lot of people tend to view Jesus primarily as, well, a miracle worker, someone you call on just to magically fix your problems, or maybe as this distant king ruling from way up high. But the biblical view presented here totally pushes back against that. It argues that the core of this relationship isn't about fancy titles or distant, untouchable power. It's about an intimate, deeply personal connection. It's about having the greatest friend imaginable. So, let's break down what that actually means, right? Biblical friendship isn't just about hanging out or having a casual chat. It is a relationship built on enduring love, unwavering loyalty, and an active presence, especially when things get incredibly tough. According to the text, Jesus wasn't just out there performing magic tricks to impress his disciples. No, he was actively building this fiercely loyal bond that would hold up under extreme pressure. And you can see a perfect illustration of this in the book of John, chapter 6. After performing a massive miracle, the crowd was completely hyped. They wanted to forcefully make him their king right then and there. But what does he do? He actually withdraws from them. Why? Because revealing his heart as a friend and establishing that genuine, caring relationship absolutely had to come before asserting any kind of authority. True trust is built on friendship first. Moving right along to Act 2, Sent into the Storm.
This brings up a really provocative question, doesn't it? If he is this ultimate, deeply caring friend, why in the world does he sometimes lead us right into tough times? The story from John 6 shows that Jesus deliberately sent his disciples out into those rough waters. These storms aren't just random, chaotic accidents. The text suggests they are meant to stretch our faith, pushing us to our absolute limits so that our deep, deep need for his presence is fully revealed to us.
Let's actually map out the physical journey of the disciples here, because it really helps anchor our understanding of how spiritual storms hit us. Look at this timeline. Hour 1, they set out, probably feeling pretty confident. But by hour 5, bam! The storm hits right when they're at the absolute midpoint of the water, completely engulfed. And get this, it isn't until much later, deep into the darkest part of the night, around hour 9, that Jesus finally enters the chaos. Right at that hour 5 mark, they are in what we can call the danger zone. They're caught in the exact middle of the lake, they can't go back, and they definitely can't easily push forward. They are far from safety and at their absolute most vulnerable. And honestly, this is exactly how life's toughest times work. They hit us when we have nothing left to fall back on, forcing us to rely on a strength totally outside of ourselves. Which brings us to Act 3, Presence in the Chaos. Okay, so here is the absolutely crucial point. When Jesus finally comes walking on the water, his delay wasn't some kind of mistake. It wasn't a sign of neglect at all. He walks directly into the darkest, most dangerous places, not to casually show off some supernatural power, but to demonstrate deep, personal compassion. He intentionally enters our worst moments and our personal struggles to reveal his heart, providing his calming presence and peace when we literally need it the most. But we all know that when you're right in the middle of a storm, it's incredibly hard to see clearly. The massive waves, the pitch black night, they can completely block our view. That's exactly why the text highlights this promise from John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice. See, when our vision is totally obscured by our problems, his familiar voice cuts right through the deafening noise of the wind to calm our fears. So, how do we actually hear that voice? The source outlines 3 really practical steps for recognizing him in the middle of the storm. Step 1, memorize the promises of his presence so they're locked in and ready when you need them. Step 2, meditate on his caring character. Remind yourself that he genuinely desires to be with you. And step 3, develop daily habits of quiet listening. It is so easy to get totally hyper-focused on the problem, but we can't let that make us miss the friend standing right beside us. And finally, let's look at Act 4, trusting the destination.
Now, there is a totally fascinating detail in the biblical account here. The disciples initially set out aiming for one very specific town, but Jesus actually took them somewhere entirely different. The takeaway: God's guidance often acts as a detour. Our initial plans might change dramatically, and yeah, it might feel super confusing in the moment, but His presence in the boat ensures that we arrive exactly where we spiritually and practically need to be. The detours are incredibly purposeful.
To wrap all of this up, here are some really actionable takeaways for how we can actively weather life's uncertainties with Him in our boat. First, we trust Him in the difficulties. Second, we spend time in prayer, seeking actual closeness rather than just treating Him like a cosmic vending machine for help. Third, we actively choose to see hardships as real opportunities for our faith to grow. Fourth, we stay tuned to His voice when our plans inevitably change. And lastly, we practice patience, completely trusting His ultimate timing. Which leaves us with this final, really powerful question to chew on today. When the winds inevitably pick up in your own life, will you seek only to escape the storm? Or will you use that very storm to seek a deeper, more profound friendship with His presence right in the absolute midst of the chaos? It's a hugely challenging thought from our source material today, and one that absolutely redefines how we face our hardest moments. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking the truth behind the